sad that there are Muslims who don't know. He died, thanks God. So, he's one of the Muslim polemists, has thousands of followers. He makes a claim that there is only one Quran and throughout centuries, and we read the Quran which is given to Muhammad and not even a dot changed. And then we've got Zakir Naik, disciples of Ahmed Didat. He makes the same claim. There is only one Quran, not even a dot, not even a verse, not even a word changed in that Quran. And then of course, we've got Mansur Ahmed, scholar of Speaker's Corner. When Muslims struggle to answer the questions, they would go to Mansur. He makes the same claim. He said, I stand here and confirm that not even a dot changed from that Quran. That is from YouTube of Muslims. So the claim is there is only one Quran and not even a dot change. I'm gonna make a case that actually that's not true. That wasn't the case at the time of Muhammad. That wasn't the case from caliphs to 14th century, even 21st century, and that is not the case in the 21st century. So, remember, the claim is there is only one Quran. It is perfect, not even a dot change from that Quran. First, we go to the time of Muhammad. We look at the Islamic tradition and we see at the time of Muhammad, according to Sahih Bukhari, that actually Quran is revealed in different ways. Quran is revealed in different ways. Surah 1 to Surah 114, it is revealed in different ways. We read the story of Hisham and we read the story of Umar. We see those differences were very big deal, that they wanted to grab each other. And then we go back to the another hadith. We look at actually best of the reciters, Ubay bin Ka'b. He has the same occasion. He hears the surah, which is very different than what he knows. They all go to Muhammad and Muhammad says, yes, Quran is revealed in many ways, in 7 different ways. But what happens is, those differences are given into the same tribe as different ways. So, they are not the we don't know what are they, whatever they are different given to the same tribe. We look at the Islamic tradition and then we see actually those differences were given because Muslims were not capable to recite the Quran only one way. Therefore, Allah steps in. After a big deal, Allah gives the Quran in many different ways. And then from that, we just saw at the time of Muhammad, there was not only one Quran. Even the Ahmed Didat, even the Zakir Naik, even Mansur says there was only one Quran, but Muhammad, Prophet of Islam, discredits them. Quran is not only one. We move from Muhammad to time of the caliphs, and then we see actually at the time of caliphs, there wasn't only one Quran. First Quran has been compiled because recitation, oral tradition was not reliable. Therefore, they compiled the first Quran. Second Quran has been compiled because first Quran wasn't perfect, and also people were calling each other unbelievers in the war. As the second Quran compiled, when we look at all of it, we see actually as the Quran is written down, Muslims, first caliph of the Islam, practiced the Buddha. According to Muhammad, Buddha is evil, therefore Quran can be evil. So at the time of Muhammad, there was not one perfect Quran. At the time of Abu Bakr, there was not one perfect Quran. At the time of Umar, there was not one perfect Quran. At the time of Uthman, there was not one perfect Quran. We look at the Islamic tradition, and then Islamic tradition tells us actually approximate 548 verses got missing when I make a claim that I hold in my possession more than one Arabic Quran. In my possession, I've got 31 different Arabic Qurans. I say different Arabic Qurans because I look at the Quran, which Muslims are translating today. The Quran I hold in my possessions are 31 of them and different from this one. And when I say different, I'm saying, actually when you say not even a dot changed, dot has been changed. When I say different, when you say not even a word change, I'm saying word change. Quran compares many textual variations and they are identified and named as different Qurans. Let me unpack what I mean with the textual variations. If I am writing a letter to someone and then person B comes and copies that letter and then makes a mistake in a letter, in a word, or even in a sentence, that means that is the variation. So when we look at the Arabic Quran, how does this implies? In here, I've got Samarkand manuscripts. If you look at carefully, you will see alifs, which are edited in a red color form. It is in red color form in this page. This is E20. In this page, you've got 16 alifs. So those alifs are the textual variations. They are the differences. Or you look at the Topkapi manuscripts. You see a word. They insert the word into the Quran. In here we've got Paris manuscripts again. The word has been inserted. This is a consonantal text. They inserted the consonantal letters. So when you put all those things together, we see historically, Islamic tradition tells us Quranic manuscripts are not reliable and there are thousands of variations. Yet when we look at my 31 different Arabic Qurans, I am sure you are not amazed that I've got 31 different Arabic Qurans. It contains 56,664 variations and they are all named in the different Arabic Qurans. So,
10 seconds.
Even the Muslims in 21st century tells us there is one Quran, Muhammad and caliphs and history disagree with that.
So one second. Okay.
Can you remind me in 5 and last 2?
Yes. I'll remind you all the way through pretty much,
I
yeah?
did that for her, I'll do it for you, yeah? 3, 2, 1.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So it's quite interesting to hear Hatun making a claim which we will, in the process of this discussion, will learn that this is not the reality. So I begin in the name of Allah, the one and only God, who is the reality of our existence. The God of Moses, the God of Jesus, God of Muhammad, peace be upon them all, who has favored mankind by sending his final book, the Qur'an, as a guidance and taken its role himself to protect it from corruption. He's made it into a book that is inimitable, a book that cannot be matched or something that can be imitated as a miracle, and also to facilitate it to be read and recited and memorized by people easily, all kinds of people, especially then those who are unlettered, those who did not know how to read or write, the young, the old, the children, the women, all of those people, all age groups. So Allah revealed this Qur'an in stages, not all of it in one go, but over a period of 23 years. With His infinite wisdom, He guided the initial recipients with revelation, that some of which, during the nature of the time and place, were substituted with other revelations, a concept known as nasikh and mansukh, which we will go through in bit more detail later on. Or some of the ayat, he caused them to be forgotten. But what is important to remember is that the revelation that he caused it to be forgotten, they were substituted or revealed which are better or equal at least. And the final form that was left is what we call the Qur'an that the Prophet ﷺ left to us for the posterity. The final Qur'an that the Prophet left is what is between our hands. The Qur'an, interestingly, we should know, it was written down during the time of the Prophet. The Qur'an attests to that. And its verses were memorized as well, perfectly. The Quran was written down and memorized, and the final form was written down. So there was no question of the Quran to be in one bound book, because the Quran was constantly being revealed as the Prophet was receiving the revelation. When the Prophet passed away, there was even no need yet to compile a book, because the companions had the Quran with them. But a crisis happened. Crises happened in the Muslim world, where in the Battle of Yamama, a lot of Muslims were being martyred. So a crisis, because of this, it was felt the necessary need, not a bid'ah, it is a good bid'ah, as we know. Bid'ah is of different kinds. In this case, is a good, necessary innovation to compile the Quran in one mushaf. And it was done during the time of Abu Bakr by an official committee, by an official project where everyone was involved to bring the Quran from their material parchments, wherever they are written down, in bones or leaves or stones and so on. So the Quran was written down then. It was compiled and it was left. It was not necessary to circulate. Another crisis happened in the Muslim world, where Muslims in Azerbaijan, not knowing or having the etiquettes of reciting the Quran with the different ahruf, what was facilitated earlier on, because there were different age groups and unlettered people, they were reciting and saying, my recitation is better than yours. Then this news reached eventually to the Caliph, and the Caliph said, let us now make one standard version of the Quran, one official text, which will then be circulated among the community so that people can recite and take this as their standard form of this multi-form Quran. Why do I say multi-form? Because the Quran was revealed in 7 different ways of recitation. It is a well-known, well-transmitted mutawatir hadith that the Prophet said the Quran was revealed in 7 ahruf, which we can explain in more detail later on. So, when this Quran was compiled, it was done in a way so that these various forms of recitation could be accommodated within this Uthmanic graphic form, the Uthmanic rasm. So it was done. When there was a case where certain readings were not able to be accommodated, it was done within the provinces where the reading was prevalent, with the addition or omission of extra letter or even a word. This is our standard account from our Islamic traditions. So what he ordered, that once this was an official copy made, this was then circulated among with the companions to read this Quran, and an order placed so that all of the other non-official copies to be removed from circulations. Even though there were some initially who were hesitant, but eventually all Muslims agreed collectively, yes, this is what we agree that this has been done, and we have no issue with this. Ali bin Abi Talib or Ibn Abdullah bin Masud, they all agreed to these decisions. This Quran then was the basis of learning and teaching, of the readings that were taught by the Prophet to the companions. The companions taught their successors, their students. They're called the Tabi'un. And they learned from them, and they become famous, some of them, because of their very knowledge of the Quran. They established their readings, during the time of Ibn Mujahid or so later. You had these readings now collectively agreed by the Muslim scholarship in the community that these are the 10 authentic mutawatir mass transmitted readings of the Qur'an, directly linked to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These readings, one thing to understand is this, that there was no difference between them in terms of the number of ayats, whether there's an extra ayah, more or less, whether there's an extra surah, more or less. So all this 21 or 31 or whatever number of Qur'ans we are hearing, they had the same number of Qur'ans, same number of chapters. The ayats have been all the same, no extra ayah, no less ayah, they're all the same. Even the order of the surahs have been the same. So the Qur'an that we have today is what the Qur'an that the Prophet left behind in this multiform text, multiform recitation, through these readings by our companions and the tabi'uns and the scholars of Islam, the Qur'an al-Huffaz. So what our critic Hatun needs to do is this. Hatun, to demonstrate that there are more than one Qur'an, this is what she has to do. She has to avoid arguments based on faulty translation, inauthentic narrations, misunderstanding of our text, lack of comprehension of our text, cherry picking or selectively using our text while leaving the others, arguing with straw man or red herrings. So I would like to see some very honest, very academic discussions, evidence brought forth today to demonstrate your point about the Quran. You mentioned one thing about the Quran manuscripts. This is clearly something that I have already mentioned. Manuscripts will reflect the different readings. But don't forget, manuscripts can have scribal errors where they will be corrected. They will be corrected with any omissions or additions. But our preservation of the Quran is not only in writing. Unlike any other book that we see, our preservation is through the heart, memory to memory, that continues from the time of the Prophet to today, and it will continue until the end of the world. So the thing that we see is this: manuscripts of the Quran, clearly, some of them demonstrates that the Quran that we read today is exactly you can read in the manuscripts that we have found in various places in the world. And we will go through some of the examples of those manuscripts later. So I leave with this thought. In fact, I leave with some of the papers mentioning these points that Hatun needs to establish, and we get ticks off when she does that. Please circle it around, few people.
Time's up. Yeah, he's finished on time. Don't worry, look, 05. He actually finished 2 seconds early.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay? So, remember, the claim is there is...
So 1 second, let me just do this.
Sir, my time is right now.
No. I can start the time
I'll
again.
reset it, right? Reset.
That's very ugly thing you are doing right now.
Are you getting mutilated?
So, here's the thing. The claim is there is only one perfect Quran, not even a dog changed. Even though Muslims are sending out handouts, that doesn't help. Remember, at the time of Muhammad, there was never one Quran exist. Remember, at the time of Abu Bakr, there was never one Quran exist. At the time of Umar, there was never one perfect Quran exist. At the time of Uthman, there was never one perfect Quran exist. So, let me just look at the points you mentioned. You said it's not only written form, because you acknowledge there are the variations in the written form because it is written by human beings, and then You acknowledge the textual variations in the Quran. Thank you, that's helped with my point. So, textual variations stands out as if a dot, if a letter, if a word, even if a sentence is edited in the Quranic manuscripts, which took place, and Mansur acknowledged that. So, there are the verses at the time between after the death of Muhammad to Uthman, that we read from the Islamic tradition that people forgotten these verses. Here's the thing. Quran, according to Muslims, it is the eternal word of Allah. And Muhammad forgets certain verses and praise mankind for reminding him the verses. People are complaining there are the verses not in the Quran. And what happens is, that is the moment Allah steps in and then says, no, it's not you are forgetting the verses, I am sending something better or similar. What kind of creator? If he is going to send something similar, he already discrediting what he sent. That question the character of creator. Surah 2 verse 106, as it says, I will send something better, it clearly looks in the occasion when man needed help because they forgot the verses, Allah steps in. You talked about Quran to be perfect at the time of Muhammad. Actually, that wasn't the case. Ubay bin Ka'b, Umar, and Hisham, in different occasions, they are talking about this. The recitation is different, and Allah steps in as the recitation is different. Muhammad steps in. It's like he wants to break the fight. He says, no, Quran is revealed to me in different ways. So the question will stand, where is the 7 different ways of those Qurans? Where are those 7 different recitations that it caused to Umar and Hisham to start a fight? It caused Umar to have bad feeling towards Hisham. Where are those 7 different Qurans, 7 different ways of the Qurans, where Muhammad acknowledged? Where are those Qurans are written down in our hands? You said Muhammad knew what was written, Muhammad knew what was the Quran. Sadly, no. Muhammad never saw what the Zayd bin Thabit wrote it down. Muhammad never saw what the second Quran was written down. Muhammad never saw Ubay bin Ka'b's Quran. Muhammad never saw Ibn Masud's Quran. And sadly, Muhammad never saw the current Quran you are reciting, Hafs Quran. You talked about first Quran is compiled under the Abu Bakr. Can you just please clarify for us, why did early Caliph, and including the Zayd bin Thabit, secretary of Muhammad, committed the bid'ah as they compiled the Quran? Even if the recitation was so essential, if Quran is in the heart of man, if Quran for people to memorize, why did people saw only 70 Hafiz died in the Battle of Yamama, and they saw it was urgent for them to compile the Quran and practice the Buddha?
You've got 10 seconds.
No, my time is up.
Keep going, my time.
Sorry, one person is keeping the time. I think that was fine.
Let's check for that.
5, 3,
No, your time.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now, when you mention about the Quran has been changed to the dot, you mentioned a few people. You mentioned Ahmed Didat, Zakir Naik, you mentioned myself. If you have heard myself, which now I am doubting that you've heard, I've clarified the position. That when we talk about the dots not being changed at all, even to the dot, even to the sound, I am referring to the different readings that are transmitted to us. So when we talk about the reading of Hafs, for example, the Hafs reading, anywhere in the world today, anywhere you go, this reading we know it's been preserved even to the dot, to the letter, to the vowels, to the sound. So what I will ask Hatun to do instead, and challenge her, and this is on the paper, to provide 3 examples of differences between the Hafs readings anywhere in the world. 3 examples of difference between the Warsh readings anywhere in the world. So you have to provide that in your tick list that I've given. So this is what I mean, the readings. As I've explained already, the Qur'an is a multi-form text. This means the Qur'an is clearly being recited for ease of recitation and reading in a way that has certain variations divinely sanctioned. For example, what we mentioned about Umar bin al-Khattab and Hisham bin Hakim. They were disagreeing about Surah number 25. He heard this particular companion, Umar, heard reciting this surah, and he recognized it was Surah Al-Furqan. But he recognized that he was reciting in a way that the Prophet taught him differently. He was about to grab him. Now this exercise we will do in another section. What exactly are the differences within Surah number 25 that shows the variations within the Ahraf? Okay, we will do that in another section. Now you talk about how the Quran was not perfect during the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No, the Quran has always been taught to the companions. Every companion learned the Quran from the Prophet. Whatever they learned was the Quran, and this is what they transmitted. So I don't know what you mean by a perfect Quran. You have to bring me another Quran that the Prophet you think has taught or haven't taught. Umar and Ubay and so on, they all taught and agreed that this is the Quran that the Prophet taught them. It is within their tradition, their teaching, that we receive the Quran. Ubay bin Ka'b and Abdullah al-Masud, we learn the Quran today from them. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. About the bid'ah, it was a necessary requirement. This kind of things are not something that is totally forbidden. You get the idea that bid'ah means a forbidden thing. No, bid'ah doesn't mean forbidden. This is a necessary requirement because of the issue, the crisis that happened in the Islamic world. You mentioned about the Prophet forgot a verses. No, as a human being, some people can forget. This verse that the Prophet forgot, of course, it just had a lapse in memory, that's all. So many other companions memorized it. So many companions had got it written down. It didn't disappear from the existence. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. It was all there. It was a lapse of memory only. Now, I did not say the variations in the manuscripts are due to human error. You totally misquote what I just said. I said scribal errors can happen in the manuscripts, but this is not why we have variations. The variations Uthman did was because of the ahraf. Not all of the readings could be accommodated in one graphic form. That's why the Mus'haf that he sent to Basra or Kufa or Medina, they had certain differences in letters or prepositions. Now you talk about Samarkand Quran, how the alifs are added. This is orthography. It's the same word. How you recite it. Originally the Quran was written by people who had no standard way of writing the Quran. The Arabs didn't have any book. Quran was the first book in the Arabic language. There was no codified grammar. Quran came with this writing to establish what the grammar should look like. Yep. The top copy, again, just a scribal insertion. So you haven't shown me anything there's a variation rather than this. Now, you talked about there are 56,000 differences. I would like to see some of them today. I would like to examine them. Yeah. Yeah. And the issues about the Quran recitation was not reliable, that's not true. The recitation was perfectly reliable. Continues till today.
Thank you.
The problem is that you just said
Here's the problem. Claim is there is one perfect Quran, not even a dot change. 2017, I've got more than one Arabic Quran and dots have been changed. Here's the definition for the textual variations. Even though Muslims right now start denying textual variation as the scribal errors. Textual variations. I will write a love letter to him. As my love letter have been copied by someone else, they will make a mistake as they do the copy. As they do the copy. That will be the textual variations. Every dot, every letter, every word edited in that letter will be the textual variations. I am amazed. 2017 at Speaker's Corner, Mansur, you stand here and then you say, no, that's not a textual variation, that's the scribal errors. Not, sir, that's a textual variations. That's a textual variations. Check the Oxford Dictionary for that. Sorry, I don't have the Oxford Dictionary with me. So, you said, yes, Muhammad was only human. Of course he have forgotten. Guys, Muhammad is not only human for you. Muhammad is the man Allah trusted and gave his last revelation. He's not only human. You must obey Allah. You must obey Muhammad. Muhammad is the man Allah picked and gave his revelation. Yet it is the same Muhammad, lack of recitation. It is the same Muhammad fails to remember the revelation Allah gave it to him. Remember, Muhammad never saw what Abu Bakr compiled. Muhammad never saw what is compiled under the Uthman. Muhammad never saw what Uthman ordered to be burned. Muhammad never saw what is the Quran. The Quran you are reading, the Quran you are reciting at the mosques. Muhammad never saw this Quran. Muhammad never saw that Quran.
In trouble, mate. Trouble.
So, you talked about when you made a claim that not even though they changed, you are talking about the Hafs Quran, you are talking about the Warsh Quran, you are talking about the Al-Bazi Quran. No, sir, that cannot be the case. When you say not even the Quran, don't change in the Quran, you are talking about the Quran, you must be talking about the Quran which is revealed to Muhammad by an angel Gabriel. That is the same Quran. That is the same Quran Umar and Hisham argued about. That is the same Quran Muhammad struck. You're okay? That is the same Quran that Ubay bin Ka'b got struck on his chest because he had a doubt regarding the revelation. That is the same Quran. That is the same Quran where first caliphs practiced the Buddha and then compiled. That is the same Quran when the 70 Hafiz dies in the Battle of Yamama. Muslim world suddenly start. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? People are dying. We are going to lose the Quran. That is the same Quran Uthman ordered to be burned. So that is the Quran. Allah, your creator, trusted Muhammad, the man who's supposed to be the best example to mankind and last prophet that gave the Quran, yet it is the Muhammad who forgot the Quran. Muhammad who forgot the Quran. Of course, remember, amazing Allah steps in and then says, oh, it's not your forgetting. I am causing you to forget my eternal word. Quran is identified as the eternal word of Allah. So, from the first part, you have not responded to my questions. I would encourage you to respond to my question. What are the 7 different ways those Qurans have been revealed? Where are they? Where is the Quran which revealed to Muhammad and it is written down at the time of Muhammad? Where is this 114 verses? And you talked about... Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Time's up.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You keep on talking about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam having a lapse of memory about one particular ayah, and you make a mountain out of a molehill. The Prophet immediately remembered. So did he. And how did he remember? Because someone else reminded him. So was it totally forgotten from existence? No. So the Quran did not disappear. The Quran was there. That's what he taught. It just had lots of memory, like as a human being would have. and the Quran, the Prophet then remembered. That's all. Out of this, I fail to understand how you can make a case that the Quran was totally lost. Because the Prophet remembered, and that's the end of the story. Now you talk about how the Prophet ﷺ, with Hisham and Umar, he recited in 7 different modes. Well, let me tell you how the Quran was revealed in 7 ahruf, which clearly had differences. So when Umar recognized the Surah Furqan being recited, can I show me the time as you speak, yeah? Being recited, he recognized he was reading slightly differently. Now how did he recognize it? Because slightly there are differences. If there were no variations, then how can he even recognize that it's different? So you keep misunderstanding this. I am not saying the differences of recitation in the manuscripts are scribal errors. Clearly not. What I'm saying, those examples that you've shown are scribal errors, but yes, our manuscripts show these 7 types of recitation. Surah Al-Furqan, for example, now. Who knows very good recitation? Anyone from Muslims? Okay, I'm going to give you some examples because they're short of time and I'm going to continue. Now, there are differences with letter of the alphabet, markers on the same word, the words of the same meaning, but there's certain variation. Variations in words with a different meaning. Variations in the presence or omissions of a letter or a word. Variations in word order. These are the different types of modes of recitation that we can examine in our Islamic tradition, because the Prophet did not specify, and I'll tell you in my second section why the Prophet left and this unspecified, what the ahruf actually meant. So when we read Surah Al-Furqan, let me start with first ayah. تبارك الذي نزل الفرقان على عبده ليكون للعالمين نذيرا. Those who read Hafs or read Hafs, they'll realize that's not how Hafs read it. Hafs read ليكون للعالمين نذيرا. And I read للعالمين نذيرا. It's a difference in tajweed.
Can you translate that to English?
Quran is in Arabic, recited in Arabic. So when...
Wait! Do you speak Arabic at all?
When...
Or do you read it?
أو يلقي إليه كنز أو تكون له جنة يأكل منها. I read this in a different way than Hafs, because Hafs reads this as أو يلقى إليه كنز أو تكون له جنة يأكل منها. So I read نأكل instead of يأكل, different verb forms. وإذا ألقوا منها مكانا ضيقا مقرنين دعوا هنالك ثبورا. This is the Hafs reading. But if you read Bazzi reading, وإذا ألقوا منها مكانا ضيقا instead of ضيقا. Another example. ويوم تشقق السماء بالغمام ونزل الملائكة تنزيلا. This is how Hafs reads it. But how about this? ويوم تشقق السماء بالغمام وننزل الملائكة تنزيلا. See the difference? نزل and ننزل. ملائكة and ملائكة. Verb form different. Yeah? أم تحسب أن أكثرهم or أم تحسب أن تحسب or وهو الذي أرسل الرياح نشرا بين.
Your time is up.
Right?
Your time is up.
Exactly.
Your time is
We
up.
can carry on this example later on.
So, thank you for reciting something which I have no idea what was it.
Why not?
Because you don't know Arabic!
Because I don't know Arabic.
Be on the subject then!
Because I don't know Arabic.
Do you know Arabic?
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So, Isn't that amazing? I can see the attitude of Muslims. That is the beautiful attitude of Muslims. When a Christian woman stands and speaks, that's what you do, sir. So, here's the thing. I'm not debating with you right now. I'm talking to Mansur. Can you start my time, please?
Okay.
Yeah. So, it is amazing. It is amazing that you recite 2 pages. You read it 2 pages for us.
Only 3 examples.
You read it 2 pages, 2 examples from Surah 25. Sadly, why are you so scared to translate that to English for us? Why are you scared to translate that to English for us so we can check it out what it is you are reading for us? If Allah cannot communicate with me in my language, that is shame on Allah. But here's the thing. Al-Bazi's Quran sadly was not exist at the time of Muhammad. Hafs Quran was not exist at the time of Muhammad. Those are entered into the Islamic world approximate 200 years after death of Muhammad. So even you can look at the readings, authorized readings today, and then you can tell me that those are how it is read, but you never know actually what was the Umar and what was the Hashim reciting, and Islamic world will never know that because at the time of Muhammad there were different Qurans. Those differences, people wanted to grab each other. They were disturbing to those were disturbing to each other. So here's the thing. I'm gonna read something for you, Mansur. Can you please follow it up from the Quran? And dear lovely Muslims who are challenging my Arabic will help you out. So here's the alternative version. Here's the alternative version of the Surah 25. Verse 1 and 2. I'm gonna read it English. You can just check it out. Remember, at the time of Muhammad, there was no dots. At the time of Muhammad, there was no dots. But even in the Constantinople letters, here have optional Surah 25 can be. Blessed is the one, if he wills, provides you better than that. Jannat with rivers flow beneath them, and he will make you places. Nayazikia is the one. If he persevere bad, bring your news of seed out of their luck, make marvel and victory favor to you. So that is the other option. But this option is not al-Bazi or any other reading. This is the option can be read as in the time of Muhammad because they did not have the dots. They did not have the dots. So, I'm just going to take 1 minute. I'm just going to take 1 minute because Muslims already start challenging my Arabic, and yet Mansur denied the definition for the textual variation, and he read it 3 things for us in Arabic. Let's just practice something. As I told you, I am not Arabic speaker, but let's see something. One of the manuscripts which takes us back to time of Muhammad. Actually, not time of the Muhammad. It's in 8th century manuscripts does not have the dots. Sir, can you read it for us? Can you read it for us?
It's your time.
Okay, I want Mansur to read it this in his time.
Why don't you read it, Hatun?
I've got another writing from the Quran. I would love Mansur to read it and translate it for us. Here's another one. I'm gonna give it to you, sir. And then I've got another Arabic writing. I would love Mansur to read it and translate it for us to see, even though he recites the Quran for us, Does he have any authority? And then I've got fourth writing. I would love Mansur to read it and translate it for us. And then we will continue. Sir, here are my four things. I'll give them to you in order.
I have them all. Don't start.
No. You read that and you read that and I'm gonna give it to you. No. I want you to first read that and I'm gonna give it to you. Just read it. No, I'm gonna give it to you.
Come on.
Okay, start.
Come on.
Why are you not reading?
It's my time. Let me start. So now, the strawman argument is this. Instead of admitting and confessing that you don't know Arabic at all, you want to know.
Said that already.
You want to now check my Arabic skills? Yes. No, that's not the point I'm making. What I'm making is this. What I'm establishing is when I read Surah Al-Furqan. Surah Al-Furqan was taught by the Prophet. Umar did not see a writing by Hisham while he was praying. He heard. This is a memorization text. So he heard, so I recited. Again, you heard what I recited. And I gave you examples of the differences that you can hear and observe between the different readings. I didn't make this up. This recitation came from what? From Bazzi, from Duri, from Khalaf, from Hafs, and so on. Why do I say this? Because look, we know the recitation that we received through successive transmission from Umar being one of the teacher companions. The recitation of Ibn Kathir, Abu Amr, Hamza and Kisai, they all go back to Umar bin al-Khattab. So I chose some of the recitation of Ibn Kathir, Susi, Duri, Hamza and Kisai, and compared with Hafs, and you clearly saw the differences. If someone knew Hafs by heart and heard me reciting in those forms, you will say it's a mistake. Like Omar realized it was a mistake. So we establish that when we talk about the ahraf, these were the differences even at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, as sanctioned by the Prophet ﷺ. I could give more examples, but I think this is sufficient. You talk about translating. This is not the exercise. The exercise is to demonstrate what were the variations between the recitations, and I demonstrated that already. Now, you keep on saying how.
Translate.
Hafs and Bazzi did not exist at the time of the Prophet.
Translation.
You keep missing the point. Hafs, Warsh, Duri and Susi, all of those teachings, they are all traced back directly to the Prophet ﷺ. All of them. The community of the whole of the Muslims, they gathered together. Yes, we have a chain of transmission.
Go on, tell us.
Yes, we have. I will show you some of the chains. We have this chains of transmission all the way from today going back to the Prophet in these transmissions. We have no doubt that what we read is what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. So what are you talking about, Hatun? You don't even know how the Qur'an has been transmitted to us. You need to learn about our sources. You keep on talking about dots and so on. I say, every single reading that we read today, they are preserved meticulously. I did not say that there are no variations between them. Umar said there were variations. Hisham said there were variations. These variations are what? Divinely sanctioned to facilitate the reading of the Quran. As I mentioned, this is what Allah has given us the privilege. Now, manuscripts that you want me to read, these manuscripts are precisely done in a dotless way so that a companion reader, a scholar, a reciter would go and teach the Quran, and they will hear the Quran and they will say, that's the way to read it. If you were to read it, you might read elephants in there and all this gibberish that you read, because you don't know what the context is. But when the Quran was read in this form, and taught by the companions, then they know this is the way to read it. And that's how the Quran has always been taught to us. We don't have to worry about a skeletal text. Skeletal text without any dots. Scholars can read it. Those who have memorized can read it. And the scholars, the teachers, will tell us how to read it. So, so it's not about my checking in Arabic. I should check your Arabic.
Can you read it? Oi, oi.
Right.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Different Quran in the Prophet's lifetime? No. Prophet taught all of this oral recitation to the prophets. So there was one Quran in a multi-form recitation. Get this clearly.
You're done. Disappearing.
Okay?
Maybe someone else is going to take over here.
Yeah. Sir, I would love you to read this and then help us to know, help us that we know that you have authority in Arabic, that you can speak in Arabic, you can read it in Arabic, and you can understand Arabic, because you just give us the quotation from Surah 25. I told you I am not Arabic speaker, but I want you to show us that you are Arabic speaker and you understand this, sir. Can you please read it for us? Why are you so afraid to read it? We can stop the time. Stop the time.
No, carry on. It's your
No, I want you to read it for us.
I want you to carry on.
Why are you so afraid to read that, sir? We are going to pause the time. I want you to read it. Can you pause the time? Can you read it for us? Okay, so a Muslim missionary at Speaker's Corner is so afraid to prove us that he knows Arabic, he understands Arabic. Can you please provide for us that we are confident that you know Arabic, you can speak Arabic, you understand Arabic, sir? This is my first page. Here is my second page. I would love you to read it. Let me give you the fourth page. Just a moment, sir. Just a moment. Can you read it for us?
Of course.
Okay. Can you read that for us and translate it for us?
This one is cheap.
No, just a moment. Just a moment. Can you please read the underlined part of that for us?
So she's given me...
And translate it for us.
Right?
Yeah.
She's given me a text with some words with ... How am I supposed to read it? Okay, I'll try. So it's an exercise of filling in the gaps.
Come on, please read.
وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا أما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما.
Sir, can you translate it for us?
Yeah. And when your Lord decreed, don't worship anyone except Him. And
can you please translate it us as you read it for?
Okay.
As you read it.
وقضى ربك. Look, I'm an Arabic speaker. My Arabic is not that great.
Now you're saying that.
Now the debate.
Now you say that.
Now the debate. Hang on. Now the debate has become not whether there's one Quran or 26 Quran, whether Mansur knows perfect Arabic. I never claimed I have scholarship in Arabic.
Sir, sir, hold on. It's my turn. It was my turn. It was my turn.
Let me finish.
No, I asked you, just a moment. Only thing I wanted, it's my turn. Only thing I want is to read the underlined part and translate it as it is written down.
Okay, I'll do that. And when your Lord decreed, do not worship anyone except Him, and be dutiful, be kind to your parents. And when they reach, one of them or both of them, an old age, show them mercy. Okay? Yeah, show them mercy, and do not even say off to them. Do not even utter the word off, but say a word of generosity.
Let me take it back. Of course, Muslims will say Allah Akbar. Sadly, with great sadness, that is not the proper translation. With a great sadness, that is not the proper translation. Sir, can you please?
Show me the translation.
Show us proper translation. Show us. Don't worry, you'll see it. Don't worry.
Can you read this for us? Can you read?
Why are you pausing?
I haven't paused. I haven't paused.
Sorry.
Sir, can you read this for us?
Give me another one.
No, I want you to read that.
I will read what I can
No,
read
no.
properly.
Okay, so you cannot
I can
read this
read
one.
properly, I
It's
will
my
read
turn. It's my turn. So you cannot, okay? A Muslim cannot read this Arabic. That is the Arabic at the time of Muhammad. Okay?
I said I cannot read
As if
properly.
it's my terms. Okay. Since when it is my
Can you
turn,
translate, please?
since when it is my turn, and Mansur steps into my turn, that directly gives me right to step and talk over when it is his turn. So,
That's not acceptable.
no, that's what you've done just. My time is up. Thanks to you.
Douglas, as a timekeeper, it's important to fix this right. I did not want to intervene anything in your time. You invited me to read. You invited me to translate. This is exactly
That
what
was
I'm saying.
it. No, you weren't doing that. You
cannot-
were not
cannot
doing that,
demand the
Mansur.
right on my time. So now, you made a claim that I have not translated. No.
No. It's your turn now. You made your point. You made your
We
point.
are not talking.
You made your point. Just go on, sir. So just go on. It is your turn. Just go on.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So now, this game is over. I am not going to keep on demonstrating my Arabic skills, as I've demonstrated already. This vowel-less reading, I was able to read and translate. Those who are listening, the Arabic speaker, immediately recognize that is the actual translation. You said it's not. It's upon you to establish where my translation is faulty. Now, what I want to now ask Hatun is this. We want to move forward this debate. I want 3 examples of differences between Hafs reading within them, 3 examples of difference between the Warsh readings, and I would like you to tell me that they are different. Instead of showing me orthographical differences, show me the differences between them. Unless you show me there is a different verse, 1 verse more, 1 verse less, 1 chapter more, 1 chapter less, or difference of surah order, then you will be said to be miserably failing to provide more than 1 Qur'an. Because my criteria of you establishing more than 1 Qur'an is a Qur'an that has more or less surahs, a Qur'an that has more or less ayat. But in my Islamic teaching, the words can be recited differently. That's why I'm not asking you to provide different words, because we accept the Prophet taught certain words even with synonyms differences. So provide us with what you are asked to provide, rather than a textual variant. No, we already said Quran is a multi-form text. The Prophet ﷺ taught us this. If you can't get this in your understanding, what can I say? You have to deal with our tradition, our understanding of what Quran is. Our Quran is a multi-form recitation. You have to acknowledge that. I am not asking you to go do something which is what we don't believe in. You keep on talking about how the Prophet ﷺ didn't teach. No. I want you to now turn to examples that you say provides evidence that there are more than 1 Quran. What I did instead, I showed you the variations in Surah number 25, Surah Furqan. Did I just make this up, the variations? No. These are in your mushafs. The Quran copies that you have, they're from there. They are there in Al-Bazzi's copy. They are there in the Duri copy, in the Susi copy. They are there in Ibn Kathir's copy. That's where they're from. That's where I've read it. If you were to bother to check, you will find this exactly how this reading is in those in this codices, you can call it, or Quran mushafs as we call it. The bound Qurans. This is from there, so I didn't make it up. So now I would like you to now go back to the debate. Yes. Provide us evidence that there's more than 1 Quran, rather than saying, there are many Qurans. If all the companions during the time of the Prophet all agreed what the Qur'an is. And they all agreed after the death of the Prophet what the Qur'an is. Do we have any doubt what the Qur'an is left by the Prophet? Absolutely not. Because we get the Qur'an through the companions of the Prophet, which they agreed upon. If you now have the disciples of Jesus, they're all agreeing, this is what the gospel Jesus preached. You say no, Jesus did not preach this gospel, he preached something else, even though if you have a consensus of the disciples. It's quite rather silly, because when you have the students of the Prophet, his companions, his disciples, they all agreed what the Qur'an is, and you're saying the Qur'an is different. I find it strange to believe your reasoning. The Prophet taught them, and they all agreed. So the Qur'an that we read today, yes, they're all traced back directly to the Prophet ﷺ. And I will show examples of the chains of narrations of these readings all the way going back to the Prophet ﷺ in another section. What I want to ask now, Hatun, she doesn't need to check my Arabic. I am not an Arabic scholar, but I can do Arabic reading as I've demonstrated.
You can't translate it, though?
This, and I translated it. What I want you to do, come back to the debate and debate the subject.
So, Muslims are challenging my Arabic. Sadly, we just noticed Mansur does not know Arabic. He does not understand Arabic, and he does not able to translate it for us. He was not able to do that. So this is my example again. This is my example, and a Muslim Mansur confirmed that he cannot read it and translate it. This is a second example. I asked him to read it and translate it as it is written. Sadly, that is very well-known passage, yet he failed that. I'm going to show you how he failed that. I would love you to read this and then translate this for us. After that, I would love you to read this, green, underline green, and translate it for us. And then let me just give you the proper translation of what you read and failed to translate it to us from Arabic. Let me just read it for you.
Show him the correct words. He's doing it now.
Here how it's supposed to be. That you don't worship anyone but him, and kindness to your parents. Won't they reach end for you? One of them or both of them. So don't say if to them and do not rebuke them, and say to them generous things or kindness things. That's not what you said. I asked you to read it and translate it as you read it. Sadly, you failed to do that. So, I've got two more examples for you to read it and translate it as they are written. Here is the thing. I can see your lovely Muslims are getting upset. I can see your lovely Muslims are getting upset and practicing little bit of Islam over there. Here's the thing. It's my turn.
So when do you want me to read it?
In your turn.
No.
Last time,
because you're asking me to read.
Last time in that case, my time needs to be paused.
If you want me to read, I'll read it in your time, not my time.
Sir, why are you being so child? Last time you read it in my time, and then you took over my time. So read them in your time. This time I gave you the time. So I am amazed that you are making a distinction between Musaf and Quran. Quran doesn't make that distinction. Quran does not make that distinction. You made Umar to disagree with Hisham, sorry. You are talking about the chains of transmission. We know as the Quran has been compiled, people were objecting what is compiled. Ubay bin Ka'b and Masud were objecting what was Uthman compiled. They were already different versions of the Quran. Even though you think chain goes back to Muhammad, yes, there are lovely list of names, but you have no idea what they have done. You don't know. So, and those, it's good. I wonder how Bart Ehrman would laugh at you when you tell him, oh, those are the chains. Those are, why are you cheating? Just a moment, why are you cheating? Why are you cheating, sir? Your brother should be able to know that. So, my time is up.
What's it? Time. You can't read it, yeah?
So because she wants me to read to waste my time in the debate, in your time I will read, not in my time. So to continue, Bismillah
We'll give you extra time.
we are seeing again what?
I'll give you extra 1 minute.
Then I will read.
Okay. Extra 1 minute, okay?
No, here.
So I want you to read it and
In the
translate
name of
it
Allah, the most gracious.
as it is written.
Alif Lam Mim. Alif Lam Mim. These are letters. They don't have to be translated because letters don't have to have meaning. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. This is indeed a book. There is no doubt about it. A guidance for those who fear Allah. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب. Those who believe in the unseen. ويقيمون الصلاة. And those who establish prayer. ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. And those who give out in charity what Allah has provided them. والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك. And those who believe in what has been revealed to you. وما أنزل من قبلك. And which was revealed to before you. وبالآخرة هم يوقنون. And they are of the hereafter certain. Now this is from the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha. This one is from the Bible.
Surah Baqarah.
She asked me to read the Bible. Now, ونادى ملك الرب إبراهيم ثانية من السماء وقال بذات أقسمت يقول الرب. I don't think that is very eloquent Arabic anyway. أني من أجل أنك فعلت هذا الأمر ولم تطع ابنك وحيدك. Very bad. أباركك مباركة وأكثر نسلك تكثيرا كالنجوم السماء وكالرمال الذي على شاطئ البحر ويرث. I can't even read it because it's not very clear. نسألك باب أعدائه. That's the translated part.
Can you translate
now,
it for us?
Because this is a Bible.
Can you translate it for us?
This is not the debate. The debate
Can you
is on the
translate
Quran.
it for us?
You read one license. Now,
Can you translate it for us?
Jesus did not speak Arabic.
His time is up. Okay. Your 1 minute is up. So you are not going to translate it?
start again. My 1 minute is up.
Five. Start from five.
It's up from 5. So now, see it again?
Does Jesus speak Arabic?
Now, to return to the
There's your answer. Don't ask stupid questions.
To return to the debate, we heard again Hisham and Umar. Keep dragging and dragging. I said the Quran was heard recited, and I recited the differences from the reading that's been transmitted to us. The reading that the Umar used to recite has been transmitted, and I gave his reading, and I compared with another reading not transmitted from Umar. So clearly I gave you the differences from Umar and from someone else. And you keep on saying, where are they? The example that you gave about Ubay bin Ka'b and Ibn Masud objected. We want to see where is his objection, because our Islamic tradition very clearly says all of them eventually, including Ibn Masud, agreed with the Uthmanic compilation. All of them. There was no dispute afterwards. Initially, only one person, Abdullah bin Masud, he didn't want to hand over his Mus'haf. That's all, because he said, how am I going to, give up, besides my writing of the Mus'haf on someone, about Zayd bin Thabit, because he heard all of these 70 or so surah directly from the mother of the Prophet ¡ﷺ. He had his own personal notes within his Mus'haf. That was the reason he was reluctant. So what we want to now establish is Hatun, come back to the debate. Now, If you don't come back, I will wait. Can you pause for a second? Let's get this. Can you pause for a second?
Where are they? Are they coming?
Did you pause?
I didn't know some of it, yeah.
Some of it. I asked him to pause. He said some of it.
Don't worry, you can get more time. It's fine. Just talk.
So now, we are going to move on into this one Qur'an from this Qur'an business. Now, Hatun obviously didn't provide any examples. Now, these are all the chains of transmission of our Qur'an, all the way going back to the Prophet. We can go through in details later. There's no time to waste. We have them all. Every single reading that we have, the he mentions in 31 or 26 Qur'an, they all go back to the Prophet. Now, let us now give examples. I have here all 71 examples which I'm waiting to go through, which she is avoiding. First example, I'm going to start. This is the reading of Hafs and Duri. يكذبون and يكذبون. What you need to understand is this. If you see both of the reading with a dotless text, it's the same text. Same text. You can read. You can read both of the reading here. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْذِبُونَ or يُكَذِّبُونَ.
Which one the Quran?
Right, both of them.
Two Quran.
Yeah.
Two Quran.
Second example, نَغْفِرُ and يُغْفَرُ. Guess what? It's the same consonantal text. Same text. You can read وَقُولُوا حِتَّةٍ نَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ خَطَايَاكُمْ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ. The same text.
What does it mean?
You can read.
What does it mean?
It's there already.
What is it? Tell us. Tell us the meaning.
And اتخذوا. Same Arabic, Quranic, consonantal text. For example, miskin and masakin. You can read this here. فِدَّةُ طَعَامِ miskin or طَعَامُ masakin. Same text.
What does it mean, sir? Tell us the
We'll
meaning.
come back later. Haf and al-warsh. Between daf'un and difa'un. It is the same Arabic text. Same one consonantal text. So how many Quran so far? It's the same one Quran, which can be read in one Quran, that can be read in different readings. The next one. كفلها كفلها. Same Arabic text. وكفلها وكفلها. You can read both of the readings in the one same consonantal text. Next example. تعلمون and تعلمون. Same consonantal text. You can read both the readings in the Usmanic text. Next one.
Which one?
يبغون and تبغون. It is the same consonantal text. So we have Quran so far, one text read
Okay,
in
it's my
different
turn.
ways.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah
Thank you.
Rabbil Alameen.
You haven't told us the meaning.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Claim is comes from Muslims. As Muslims disagree with their prophet, as Muslims disagree with their first, fourthly right guided caliphs, to make a point that there is only one Quran and not even a dot change. Muslims, you've been telling lies. You've been telling lies. And you've been telling lies. You are disagreeing with Muhammad while he clearly says And then I give you the second one, which was the most easiest one. Well done, you've done that because you memorized that. But I ask you to read something from the Bible. You fail to do it. You fail to do it. You fail to translate it. Yet now still you say there is only one perfect Quran. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Can you please provide sources for me? Ubay bin Ka'b and Mansur are agreeing with the Uthman's Quran. Ubay bin Ka'b himself says, I'm not gonna leave my Quran. I'm not gonna give my Quran. Mansur has the same thing. Tradition tells us there is only 111 surahs in Ibn Masud's copy. There is 116 surahs in Ubay bin Ka'b's Quran. There is already 3 Qurans. If you can count 1 plus 1 makes 3. Uthman's Quran plus Ubay bin Ka'b's Quran plus Ibn Masud's Quran makes 3 Qurans already. Yet, Quran revealed to Muhammad in 7 different ways. They were different from one another.
Yes.
Why did you not accept the translation I give it to you for Surah 25? Again, it is just the dots are moved. Remember, at the time of Muhammad, you did not have the dots. So, now, let's look at the variations you give it to. Since it looks like you are failing to just respond to my questions, let's move on to your things. And you confirm that there are 100% of the Quran contains textual variation. 100% of the Quran. Remember, at the time of Muhammad, Quran did not have the dots. That would be the Quran, which people write it down. It has no dots. Consonantal letters do not have any dots. Quran contains 100% variations from the Uthman's Quran. Quran contains 100% textual variations from the Uthman's Quran. Let's do very basic Arabic. I noticed that you don't speak Arabic, you don't understand Arabic, but your maths is not very good. But let's do very basic Arabic. Okay, I can't do that. It's your time is now. I don't have enough time, so I'm gonna go.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
I'm gonna.
Did we see where Ubay bin Ka'b radiallahu anhu or Abdullah bin Masud disagree? No evidence provided. This debate should be based on evidence, not your claims, wishful thinking. Provide your evidence and I can talk. Now, I've been asking for how long? 3 examples of differences between the worst Qur'ans. Out of your 26, or there is 1 Qur'an you have at home. 3 examples of difference between the worst Qur'an and the house Qur'an. Have you had any? Those of you who had the paper, have you ticked those? Have you provided 1 example yet? No, you haven't. So you need to provide examples. You need to provide examples of the differences between the Hafs Qur'ans, because that's what we're saying. If you can provide the differences, then you can say dots have changed, vowels have changed, words have changed. You need to do that, which you have failed in your own words. Failed to provide an example. Now, you keep saying, I don't know Arabic. So what? The debate is about, is the Quran one or many? Even you, without knowing Arabic, you came to debate the subject. And you don't give me the right to debate. Well, you don't know Arabic and you can still debate it. Shame, shame, shame. Now, you are keeping talking about what? Muslims are telling lies. Muslims are not telling lies. Muslim scholarship have always said the Quran has been revealed in this way, and they've always been taught. There are Quran schools all over the world who are teaching these qira'at, 10 different readings. I am learning from one of them who has certificate in more than 1 reading. So unusual. It's there even in London. So you are telling lies, the Muslim. You keep your reading list so small, you go to Zakir Naik and you go to Sheikh Ahmed Didat and you think that's it. Instead of bothering to go to Islamic scholarship, what Islamic scholarship have to say about what we believe as the Quran is. So now, you said my translation, I did not correctly. Your translation was awful. Awful. You asked me to go to your math class. I suggest you take some English lessons. So now, to move on to the debate, because what we're doing like all the time, as usual, we are beating around the bush. So now I'm going to continue. My next example. Can you hold on? Can you pause for a second? 223.
No, just go on.
Why pause?
Just go on.
Pause. Well, I'm going to get something out, so pause for a second, please.
Can
Come up from the Windbinders. I'm going to be
Surah
very
2 verse
careful.
10.
So now let's move on.
You did
next example.
383. You did 383.
We did Kafalaha.
You did 383.
Al-Limun 383.
Yeah, you've done that.
Between Qatala and Qutila. If you look at it, it's the same consonantal skeleton. You can read the both of the readings from the same text. Next one, Qatalu and Qutilu. Again, same consonantal text. You can read the both readings. As you demonstrate, it was done without any dots. And without the dots, you can read both of these readings. So far, still the same one Quran, even though in various multiple recitations or readings. Next example. Qiyaman and Qiyaman. Again, same consonantal text without any vowels. Same one Quran. The next one. 413. Yudkhilu and Nudkhilu. Again, same consonantal text. You can read the both readings. So how many Quranic texts so far we have seen? One text of the Quran. Same Quran read within this Uthmanic graphic form in different ways. But I'm not saying, I already stated, there are other graphic forms Uthman sanctioned and sent, which is slightly different. But so far, all the examples chronologically, out of your 71, it's the same text. So now, Hatun, you in your next segment, God willing, will provide one extra ayah out of this 31 Quran or one less ayah. One extra surah or one less surah within this 31 Quran. It's your turn.
Okay.
Can the parents
I
help you? Get Jesus to
am amazed. I am amazed again. Mansur makes a claim there is one Quran while his prophet is disagreeing with him, while Allah is disagreeing with him, while the first companions of Muhammad was disagreeing with him. Here is what lovely Ubay bin Ka'b tells us.
Okay, here we go.
Ubay was the best of us in the recitation, yet we live some of what he recites. Ubay himself says, I have taken it from the mouth of Allah's apostle and will not live for anything whatever. I will not live for anything whatever. Yet he had 116 chapters in his Quran. 116 chapters in the Quran. Current Quran is 114 chapters. Let's do practice. Let's do maths. 116 take away 114. How many? What is left? 2. So he has extra chapters which Muslims are not reciting today. not reciting today. Why? Why? Thank you for confirming that Uthman's Quran had a differences in it. I know that. And thanks for sharing that with other Muslims. We really appreciate that. Mansur's Quran contains 111 chapters. How many chapters in the current Quran? 114. Take away 111, 3 left. So 3 chapters you are reading extra is not Ibn Masud's Quran. 2 chapters Ubay ibn Ka'b, who is the best of recitations and who Muhammad told you to take the Quran from, recite 2 extra chapters, yet the current Quran you are reading is not there. So that's already shows us 3 different Qurans. Name of the chapters from Ubay ibn Ka'b is the Al-Haf and Al-Qaf.
I haven't put it with me though.
You talk about the Qurans, and then you went through the Hafs Quran, and then compare them. Thank you for helping me to make a point. Quran contains 1000% of variations, 1000% of textual variations. Ubay, in the time of Muhammad, consonantal letters of the Arabs did not have the dots. They did not have the dots. Let me show you what I mean. Arabic alphabet at the time of Muhammad.
Okay.
Arabic alphabet at the time of us today. Can you see how many Arabic letter has the dots? Lots of that. Lots of that. So
A come first.
this is dal, letter dal. Without dots, it was at the time of Muhammad. 2017, miracle. It multiplied. Now it is 2 different letters. It is 2 different letters. Another letter, another consonantal letter in Arabic. Ayn. Miracle happens again in Islam when you add the dots in these consonantal letters. It adds 2 different letters. At the time of Muhammad, they did not have the dots. Now it ends up being 2 different letters.
Jesus.
Another letter, consonantal letter, at the time of Muhammad, it did not have the dots. Miracle happens, suddenly it appears in 2 different letters with the dots. And then another one, Ra, at the time of Muhammad, miracle happens, it has 2 letters, one of them has dot. For you to today stand here and then No, I'm listening. Sir, I'm listening. That's your people. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So now, finally, we heard Hatun giving 3 examples of the difference between Hafs and Warsh. Praise be to God. Hatun did it. She provided zilch example of the difference between Hafs and Warsh, not between the Hafs and the Hafs and the Warsh and the Warsh. Thank you so much, Hatun. Thank you so much for providing an extra ayah out of this 31 mushafs. Yes, or more, or extra surah. Yes, or more. I thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I don't have a bottom anyway. My heart doesn't have a bottom. That's what I mean. Now, you talk about Ibn Mas'ud, and you talk about. You want to carry on with the rain?
I'm listening.
You want to carry on with the rain? You talk about how
Do you want the file?
Ibn Mas'ud and Ubay ibn Ka'b. Right? What you don't realize is this: the Quran that we have is the consensus of the companions. As I see that we bring the people on a single mushaf, so that there is neither division nor discord, and all of them they said an excellent proposal.
What is the source?
This is in Ibn Abi Dawood in Kitab al-Masahif.
Okay, it's not one of the
Page
hadith.
22. The book that
It's
you
not
love.
one of the
That is
hadith.
the book that you so much love to quote. There are other references. Now, so the Quran that we have is a consensus of all the companions. And that's the Quran that we read today. The Quran collectively agreed by the companions is the Quran of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the same Quran. Now, you again, suddenly, not suddenly, purposely avoided the examples of our Bible, which you so love to talk about, being so many different Qurans, and you fail to even deal with one of them. I am refuting you, debunking your claim that there are more than one Quran. How do I do that? I go to the two examples that you quote, and I go to the Uthmanic skeleton, how it has been written, and you can see it's the same one text. Meaning what? One Quran. If you can't get this in your maths class, you need to go to some other class. That's what I have to say. Now, Ibn Mas'ud, do you not realize Ubay ibn Ka'b and Ibn Mas'ud? Ubay ibn Ka'b himself was in the committee writing the Mus'haf. And Ubay ibn Ka'b and Ibn Mas'ud, both of them are the teachers from which we get the 10 readings. How many times have you preached it? Right. So, when we now see the Prophet, when we now see an example that you quote, oh, Ubay ibn Ka'b said this. He, who is the greater authority? Him or the Prophet? The Prophet. The Prophet. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us the first surah to recite is Surah Al-Fatiha, surah number 1. And he also taught us Surah 113 and 114, which was not in his Mus'haf. So who should we now give Quran to? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Are you now going to say, I'm going to abandon the teaching of my Prophet and take the teaching of Ubay ibn Ka'b or Ibn Mas'ud, even though you misunderstand what they have said? In fact, we also have, from the 1st century of manuscripts, Surah Al-Fatiha from the Sana manuscript, Surah Al-Fatiha and Surah Al-Falaq al-Nas from the manuscripts, long before your traditions were compiled. You get these traditions, there are differences, right? From Kitab al-Masahif ibn Abu Dawud and so on. I have provided you now documentary evidence, long before they were born, from Quranic manuscripts which contain Surah 1, 113 and 114. You are debunked so badly, Hatun. Now, in terms of Ubay ibn Ka'b and Ibn Mas'ud, again in their chapters, do you know what Ibn Mas'ud said about Surah Al-Fatiha? He said, if I were to write Surah Al-Fatiha, I would write it in front of every single surah. Does that mean he considered this was not part of his Quran? Of course not. He never denied it, because he's the one who taught us in one of the Qur'an. Not only this, we have Arthur Jeffrey himself, in his materials for the text of the Quran, giving variants in chapter 1, Ibn Mas'ud's Quran. How is that possible if he did not have chapter 1 in his Mus'haf?
So, thank you very much once again confirming that Quran has been changed and corrupted. Thank you very much for confirming Quran contains many textual variations. Thank you very much for confirming that written Quran has been changed. Here's the thing. Ubay ibn Ka'b and Ibn Mas'ud was not in the committee of the compiling the Quran. They were not. You talked about
Ubay ibn Ka'b was.
You talked about the Quran which Ubay ibn Ka'b was reciting. Ubay ibn Ka'b is the best of recitations, yet Surah 115 and Surah 116 is not in the Quran. Surah 116, Surah 115 is not in the Quran. Ibn Mas'ud, he didn't have the last two chapters. a dot changed. Your lovely scholar, Yusuf Ali, if you didn't like Zakir Naik, if you didn't like Ahmed Didat, and if you don't like what you said, even Yusuf Ali confirms that there were lots of variations, differences in the Quran of Ubayy bin Ka'b. Here's the thing. I have got 31 different Arabic Qurans, and all of them are different from the Quran of Uthman. All of them are different from the Quran of Abu Bakr. All of them are different from the Quran of Muhammad. 31 different Arabic Qurans. Remember, at the time of Muhammad, they did not have the dots. At the time of Uthman, they did not have the dots, consonantal letters. Since you confirm to us that you do not understand Arabic, you do not speak Arabic, you cannot translate Arabic, you are like me. You look at the graphs and then you see there are the variations. You look at the graph of Surah 2, verse 100, Surah 2 and verse 10, you see the original graph has not even one dot. Yet the Quran you are reading today contains many dots. When you don't need to be Einstein. When you look at the graph, you see there are variations in it. And those variations change the meaning. So it confirms, as Muslim claims, there was one and only perfect Quran, not even a dot change. Muhammad discredits them. Abu Bakr discredits that. Umar discredits that. Uthman discredits that. And even your graphs, the graphs you showed it to us, discredit that there is one perfect Quran. I end up having 31 different Arabic Qurans. It is not surprising. Look at the dates of those readings. When those readings, those your 10 official readings, when they have been officialized, what Muhammad had to do with them? Did Muhammad even see them? No, of course not. Muhammad was dead 200 years by the time they are compiled. By the time they took current form. So, here's the thing. Ubayy bin Ka'b, Ibn Masud, their Quran were disagreeing with one another. That makes different Quran from the Quran of Muhammad. The Qurans I have, they are different from the Quran Muhammad Uthman had.
Can we have... If you have another debate, turn your camera on. You want this debate? Keep listening. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you. So I thank again Hatun for providing an extra chapter, extra surah in the 31 Qur'ans. No, I don't thank her. I take my thanks back because you do not have an extra chapter in any of those 31 Qur'ans. You do not have an extra verse, more or less, in your 31 Qur'ans. That was the debate. What you are telling me, without any documentary evidence that you can see of the Quran, you have traditions, Islamic skin brothers, Islamic traditions, which talks about this. And our same Islamic traditions talks about how the Quran was collectively compiled by all the consensus of the Muslims, and they were transmitted by Ibn Masud and by Ubayy bin Ka'b, which you keep forgetting, keep ignoring. The readings are from them, our readings are from them. Don't you realize, Hatun? Now, you talk about Ubayy bin Ka'b had 115 and 116, 2 extra chapters. What you don't realize is this: the report that talks about these are surahs are not acceptable. These are isolated reports compared to the mutawatir mass transmitted reports, compared to the mass consensus of Islamic scholarship. We don't take isolated reports. These reports are deemed inauthentic because of their contradiction to mutawatir reports. This is an established rule in hadith science. If you want to learn about hadith, in a tradition, I guess you start with a simple basic text. Now, why did he write? Of course, he would write because the Prophet taught these surahs as a special chapter. When word of evil, shayateen, the Prophet taught these two. I'm sorry, I'm talking about the other time. But during the examples of Ubay bin Ka'ab, these examples are different. What I was meant to say is Ubay bin Ka'ab has the qunut that was Prophet recited and taught that we read in our qunut, in our witr prayers. He wrote them down in his mushaf, like many other companions did. Their personal additions, their personal notes, personal commentaries, the personal exegesis in the Qur'an. And we find, excuse me brother, excuse me.
No, sir, you have to ignore it. Sir, you have to ignore it. You have to learn. You can't stop the time, sorry. You can't stop the time. You have to learn to ignore them.
You're disturbing. So you either listen.
Mansur is fine. Just go. Just go. I'm listening.
Because it's disturbing to talk over someone who's talking.
I respect that, but
Thank you.
they're disturbing me.
Yeah, so come over this side.
Yeah, go over there, please.
Thank you. My times keep running. By giving
It was your time. You needed to hold. That was fine.
Be fair, right? I just interrupted him so that we can continue in a discussion. You can
When I speak, people speak over me as well. I continue, Mansur.
Be a fair debater. So now, as I was saying, this qunut was taught by the Prophet ﷺ. Why? People were writing in the mushaf because they were writing it in their own personal copies. Many companions wrote it. Even we know now in the undertext, the inferior text of Sana, people would write these things. People will write it within the text itself. Now this text says in Surah between, it says what? Surah Al-Bara'ah, right? Now, he finished this surah and says, La taqul bismillah. He crossed off bismillah and the same Quranic text, he says, La taqul bismillah and start the surah again. Now, La taqul bismillah, do not say bismillah, is not part of the Quran. It is his personal note within the Quranic text. If you read another inferior text within the Sana manuscript, they say, Hadi nihayat of surah, this is the end of this chapter within the same Quranic text. They were writing their notes. They didn't have to write in the margin because it was their personal copy. So when in Codex Sinaiticus,
There is a package. Can you give that to her?
in Codex Sinaiticus, we have the letter to Barnabas and Shepherd of Hermas within the same manuscript. You're not going to say, oh, this is part of the biblical canon. This is an extra writing that is within this book. If you're now going to be consistent, you have to accept that that was the biblical canon. Brother.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So, my turn. Thank you. So, you are asking me to provide extra verse and extra chapters. I have. Ubay bin Ka'ab confirmed. Ubay bin Ka'ab's Quran has extra chapters. Ibn Masud's Quran has extra chapters. Author Jeffrey, who you give us the quotation and confirm what he says, confirms that as well. He confirms that as well. You talked about they are the personal copies for Ubay bin Ka'ab. Where did you get that from? Where does Ubay bin Ka'ab says, guys, this is my personal copy. Those two chapters are actually not part of the Quran. Lovely Muslims are not part of the Quran, but they are my personal copies. Where does Muhammad say that to Ubay bin Ka'ab? Nowhere. It's amazing. Muhammad never says that. But your scholars, and you know much better than that. Ibn Abbas says, actually, we don't know if this is part of the Quran or not part of the Quran. Your Islamic tradition tells us verses are eaten by sheep. Your Islamic tradition tells us those verses are missing altogether. 568 verses are missing. So you are asking me to provide extra variations are sadly, it is very sad for Muslims, disagree with the Uthman's Quran. It disagrees with Hafs Quran in 59,664 variations. 59,664 variations. They are not one apple or two apple. 59,664. You are talking about, oh, because Uthmanic text did not have the dots, therefore those are okay. Actually, no, that's not okay. You are just looking at the graph and then saying those are all consonantal. No, Arabic alphabet, I'm sorry to tell you that, but your Arabic alphabet, your consonantal letters contains dots. Arabic consonantal letters contain dots. You should have known that by now. Just you cannot look at the graph and say, oh, that's all right, because that doesn't have dot. Yes, this have dot. And those dots change the meaning of the word. Claim is there is only one perfect Quran, not even dot changed. You didn't like Zakir Naik. You didn't like your Ahmed Didat. You didn't like yourself when you made a claim that not even a dot changed. Let me give you some Muslim scholars. Yusuf Ali says same thing. Fethullah Gülen says same thing. And there are lots of other Muslims say the same thing. Yusuf Ali in the Quran, the current Quran you are reading, confirms that Ubay bin Ka'b's Quran was theologically different from the Quran Muslims are reciting today. That is different from the Quran Muslims are reciting today. Can you please just answer my basic questions, which you have not done so? So, I would love you to give me the dates for the readings, and they have been officialized. Dates for the readings and when they have been officialized. How come miracle happened in Islam? How come miracle happened and Muhammad confirmed the Hafs Quran? How come miracle happened and Muhammad confirmed the Warsh Quran? Muhammad was dead for nearly 200 years by the time Muslim says this goes back to Muhammad. No, Hafs never met Muhammad. Muhammad never met Hafs. They never met. Can you please tell me why do you believe Hafs Quran is reliable? Can you please tell me what is the teacher of Hafs wrote it down that you are sure that is exactly the Hafs Quran? There was another point you made it. Sorry, I can't remember. There was another point. Oh, sorry, I remember.
You can do that in the next section. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, this debate became a fiasco. My Arabic knowledge became the part of the debate. You showed me a Quranic text which is dotless or diacriticless and asked me to read it. Are you suggesting seriously no one can read it, like scholars? Was Al-Tikulaj able to read it? Iqbaluddin was able to read it? Of course he was able to read it. He published the facsimile edition of it. And every single letter was transcribed in modern Arabic letters. How was he able to read it? Oh, no one can read it? It really is interesting to your way of thinking. Just because some non-scholars like myself cannot read it to the full, I have my friends who can read it. Why go to friends? Go to scholars. This is what I'm saying. The scholars can read it. So can Derosh. So can Keith Small, perhaps. Your scholars in Christianity, right? Studying to read it. Oh, they can't read it? Are you telling me that Keith Small? Are you telling me that Brubaker, they can't read it? Then I stand corrected. These people are just waffling. Your Keith Small and all these scholars that are now entered in academia, they can read any of our Qur'an. But if you claim that they can do, then there are scholars who can do, even though they're devoid of vowels and diacritics. So the point is taken. The Qur'an that we read today can we read our Quranic readings within those manuscripts? The example that you showed, the answer is categorically yes, 100%. And these manuscripts have been edited and published as facsimiles, and you can see every page there are transcriptions. We can read it exactly. And what do the scholars say? They are exactly in conformity for 1300 years. The copy one, for example, the Qur'an that we read today. Not my statement of the scholar, Al-Tikulaj, in the facsimile. Exactly that we read from the beginning of Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen to the end of Min al-Jannati wan Nas. So yes, we can read it, scholars can. Variation changes meaning. Don't you get it, Hatun? If there are variations, you expect them to be, at least to have some changes in meaning. We are not saying they're all identical in meaning. There are slight differences in meaning, but all the differences are not contradictory. They're all complementary. Every single one of the 71 that you put up, and you are unable to engage with even with one, Hatun, so afraid to discuss even one. Every single one of them I can show, the meaning are complementary. Some of them have the same meaning which you fail to realize. Now, the dates of the 10 readings. Don't you get it, Hatun? Our Qur'an is transmitted from student to student to student, teacher to student to student. So if I learn my Qur'an without reading anything, I can memorize the Qur'an from my teacher without even looking at the Muslim. And he can give me the certificate at the end, ijazah, saying yes, this is the Qur'an that I learned from my teacher. And that can all the way go back to Hafs and his teacher Asim and his teacher Sulami and his teacher Ibn Mas'ud and Ibn Ka'ab and their teacher Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who received from Angel Jibreel alayhi salam, who received from Allah. We have this golden, direct, successive change. Your dates are irrelevant because every generation the Quran has been taught like this. You don't need even in a written form. How did the blind, before the braille came into existence, learn the Quran? They memorized it from their teacher. Their teacher memorized from their teacher, and so on. So the Quran has been accurately preserved in all of these narrations that we consider mutawatir, these 10 readings. Yes, we have the direct link to the Prophet. You fail to realize this, even though you know it's there in our traditions. I have them in a graph form, if you want so wish to see them. Now,
I do.
I asked you to provide evidence for your 31 Qur'ans are 31 different Qur'ans. I didn't ask you to go to our Islamic sources, what Ubay bin Ka'ab and Abdul Mas'ud said. Because you claim you now have in your position 31 different Qur'ans. So in your 31 different Qur'ans, where are the extra ayah? Where are the less than the one ayah? Where are the extra surah? Where are the less than one surah? Where are they?
So,
Shut up!
Show us, yeah, show us.
Show us to shut up!
Ask you this question.
according to lovely Muslims, there is one perfect Quran, not even a dot changed. And thank you very much, Mansur, for confirming us that actually it has changed and they are different. It changed the meaning of it.
Okay.
Thank you for confirming. Quran does not go back to Muhammad 1300 years. Muhammad goes back to 1400 years. So your Quran has got nothing to do with Muhammad. Even the current Quran you are reading has got nothing to do with Muhammad. Here how the memorization works. You trust people's memorization. People memorize as they read it. They look at the paper, they read it, they memorize it. That's why they write it down. You never been to mosque? I've been to mosque where people were teaching how to memorize the verses. You've got scripture in front of you. You read it, and you read it, and you read it, and you read it until you memorize it. You read it until you memorize it. I can see you are demanding me to produce you a respond to your question. But I'm going to be lovely and I'm going to respond to that question. So, Ubay bin Ka'b had extra chapters. Why don't you have a problem with him? If the Masud has less chapters, why don't you have a problem with him? Here, if I am lying, why people are giving me death threats? I wonder. Another this is 21st century Quran. Your lovely Muslims are telling us they cannot take Surah 9, verse 128, 129, part of their Quran. Thank you for confirming that Quran throughout centuries have been corrupted, contains many textual variations. Thank you for confirming the Quran you are reading is only 1,300 years old and it does not go back to Muhammad 1,400 years. It does not go back to Muhammad. You talked about lovely and golden chains. It's sad to say though, those chains are broken, those chains need to be fixed, and it doesn't look like they are golden chains. They cannot be golden chains. Can you please tell me why are you so afraid of those dating for the readings? Why are you so afraid for those dates? Since you are afraid, let's just enlighten the world what are the datings for those things. Guys, remember, in 9th century, people had already 25 different Arabic Qurans. In 10th century, people had 50 different Arabic Qurans. In 9th century again, 22 different Arabic Quran was exist. In 930s, 960s, 26 different Arabic Quran was exist according to Nadim, who is the librarian. Here are the dates, which Mansur is so afraid to talk about the date of the readings. So let's start with the dating for the house. Dating for the house is 805. You do the maths. How many years that's after Muhammad? How many years? Nearly 200 years after death of Muhammad. Hafs Quran you are reading today has got nothing to do with Muhammad, and for sure Mansur confirmed for us with it, showing us the textual variations. It has nothing to do with the Uthmanic Quran as well. Also, in this golden chain, I think we have to call that bronze or aluminium, something else. It cannot be golden chain. Can you please tell me why did you pick the Hafs Quran?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Khalifa called, the Sabitas called. They do not accept the last verse of Surah At-Tawbah, and she showed an English translation. So if they consider Quran to be English, they are not even worth discussing. Do they have a Quran which has Arabic Quran less than this translation, which you should provide? And you actually didn't show that any example like that. You provided an English translation. Useless and worthless in this discussion, in an academic point of view. Now, the Quran that we have can be traced only to 1300 years to the Prophet. You misconstrue my words again. I gave one example of how a particular scholar was to read this manuscript without diacritics, without vowels, and this particular manuscript, he dated it to that point. It doesn't mean we don't have anything earlier. I mean, certainly someone has a comprehension problem here. Chains are broken. What evidence do you have? What evidence do you have that our chains are broken? We have all the chains which are all directed to the Prophet. I have them all here. What evidence do you have? You provided what? Zilch. Now, 8th century, there are 9th century, 25 to 50 Arabic Qur'an. Ibn Nazim's list. You are going back to traditions, excuse me, you're going back to traditions again, both of you interrupting. You're going back to traditions without substantiating with any evidence. that yes, there is this different Qur'an. So I asked you again, the debate was, you talk about there are 26 different Arabic Qur'ans. Don't you say that? I came along to debate that subject. I didn't come along to debate the manuscripts in Sana or the manuscripts in Paris. So you keep shifting the debate. Within this 31 Qur'an that you said are different, you have so far failed miserably, but still chance, still hope, to provide within the 31 Qur'ans that you have an extra ayah more or less, an extra chapter more or less. So here is my tick list. My tick list. Are there 114 chapters in the 31 Qur'ans, more or less? She provided no evidence to the contrary. So it's still the same Qur'an. Are there any different surahs? She provided nothing. Still the same one Qur'an. A surah order different between this 31 Qur'ans? She provided nothing. Still the same Qur'an. A verse text more or less within the 31 Qur'ans? She provided nothing. Still the same Qur'an. Any of these ayahs that we cannot read in the manuscripts? She provided nothing. Same Qur'an.
Can I have one copy?
You can have it. Yeah. Did she provide 3 examples? Why I chose 3? You know why? 3 examples of the differences between the Hafs Qur'an. She says there's more than one Hafs. She says there's more than one Hafs. Did she provide any differences between the Hafs? Between them? Any differences between the wars? So far, zilch. So in my tick list, she provided no evidence to substantiate the claim that the Qur'an is more than one. So I stand here making this debunking of your claim that there is only one Qur'an. There is only one text. There is one Qur'an the Prophet taught in the multiform way of recitation, as I demonstrated from the examples after examples after examples. So you
have different Bibles. It's not like that.
You talked about a sheep, brother. Brother, you're interrupting again. Cameraman, please take your patience. A sheep eating the verses. Did no one else know this? Of course they knew this verse. It didn't disappear from existence. But what you don't realize this, we believe, most of us scholars believe, in the concept of abrogation of this verse. So even if the sheep ate it or whatever, or lost, that is not going to be part of the Qur'an. The Prophet ﷺ left exactly the Qur'an that he recited twice in the last year of his death. And that Qur'an is what we read today. So far what we have seen, we see the example of one Qur'an of Muhammad ﷺ recited in different recitations, but they all trace back to our Prophet ﷺ.
Okay, my turn now. So,
Thank you again. Thank you very much.
it is amazing. It is amazing that Mansur confirms that there were the multiple Qurans. There were the multiple Qurans, and Muslims are so happy about that. There were multiple Qurans at the time of Muhammad, which confirms when Mansur stood here and then said there is only one perfect Quran that discredits Mansur. When Muslims say there is only one perfect Quran, they are discrediting Muhammad, they are discrediting the caliphs, they are discrediting the Islamic tradition. There was never one perfect Quran. You talked about the golden chains. I am sad to say that golden chain become an aluminium chain and it needs to be fixed. It's broken and it is shaken. Explain me who is Hafs. Explain me what do you know about him? What do you know about his teacher? Why are you so scared of answering those basic questions? Why are you so scared of talking about the dates for the readings? You are talking about the surah orders. At the time of Muhammad, they were not even in that order. At the time of Muhammad, they were not in the order. The verse sheep eat it, it is very, very sad news for Muslims. Allah confirms in the Quran, He is going to protect the Quran. Surah 15 verse 9, Surah 6 verse 115. Allah confirms He is going to protect His word, yet amazing sheep turns up out of the blue, comes and eat the verses, yet those verses are not in the Quran. Your powerful Allah failed to protect the verses from a sheep. That is amazing. There are approximately 568 verses are missing in current Quran. You are not questioning those, but you are questioning others. If that, let's say, sake of the argument, if the verse which sheep eat it, shouldn't, it's abrogated verse, why do you have other abrogated verses in the current Quran? Why did you put them, yet you fail to put this verse which is eaten by sheep? Can you just explain to me, who is this Hafs guy? How can you trust Hafs while he borrowed the book and he never bothered to return that book? How can you trust him? How can you be sure that his chains confidently goes back to Muhammad while you know they've got nothing written? They've got nothing written. We know Ubay bin Ka'b is in the chain of Hafs, and we know Ubay bin Ka'b's Quran was different. That was a different, yet you put a bunch of the list of the names in the Islamic tradition and tells us that's the golden chain. No, that's a broken aluminium chain, needs to be fixed. That's not a golden chain. So, yes, there are 31 different Arabic Qurans.
Yeah.
They are different Arabic Qurans.
Okay.
It's not because I say so, it's because Quran itself says so.
Okay.
How did you go?
Here we go. Go ahead.
I know Mansur doesn't know Arabic. He doesn't understand Arabic. He cannot translate Arabic. He will be failing to read them probably. Maybe he can read them, but he cannot understand them. Ma'am, can you hold on?
I don't understand what she's saying.
Here is the thing.
My friend, just
Those are the Qurans. They all name differently. So this is the Quran of Al-Susi. That is the Quran of Al-Susi.
This is a picture. That's nice.
This is the Quran of Abu Jafar.
Allah.
Show us the variation in them.
That's the Quran of Yaqub. That's the Quran of Yaqub. And it is all 31 of them. You are seeing only pictures because every time when I bring the Qurans down, I have to protect myself and I have to protect my Qurans. That's why you are seeing the pictures.
Yeah, the Quran is 300.
Pictures of the cover she shows. It says very clearly, Quran, the riwayat of this. In the readings of, in the riwayat of this. This is what we believe. The Quran has been translated.
The Quran is
Riwayah. Excuse me.
A Quran.
In this reading. So yes,
A Quran,
she hasn't
33
shown
book.
is where the differences of chapters and verses are. I kept telling her it's the same, and she kept saying it's different, and the evidence is not provided. Here is your golden opportunity, Hatun, to provide the differences. I've already done the tick list. You still have some chance to untick it. Now, you talk about who is Hafs. Hafs, we have his biography. We know when he lived. We know when he died. We know who his teachers are. We know what was told about him. Like Yahya bin Mu'in says, الرواية الصحيحة التي رويت عن قراءة عاصم رواية أبو عمر حفص بن سليمان. The correct, authentic translation riwayah is the reading of Asim. You have other, like الذهبي, he says أما في القراءة فالثقة ضابط لها بخلاف حاله في الحديث. In hadith he may be weak because he wasn't concerned with hadith, but in Quran he is ثقة, trustworthy, ضابط. It's totally upright, so there is no problem with this Quranic recitation. He is totally perfect in his recitation. His memory is perfect, his recitation is perfect. We have examples of this testimony of Simi brothers. Example of
300 books.
testimonies
Explain that for
of
me.
Hafs. You mentioned, not realizing, from your teachers who misunderstood the Islamic text, that Hafs, the same Hafs, borrowed a book and didn't even return it. This was another Hafs. Go and check the traditions carefully. The scholars have responded clearly. This Hafs and that Hafs is not the same. So you're conflating the names and you think, oh, it must be the same person. Go and read more about it. You learn that your superficial reading of your sources are not going to help you. Now, you talk about Mansur don't know Arabic, and yet he was able to translate read your Arabic Bible. He was able to read the other Qur'an. What I said is, I may not read the vowelless text of the Mus'haf, the manuscript, properly. It doesn't mean I may not know how to read it. I don't want to make a mistake in reading the Qur'an. That is my reservation. If you want, I can demonstrate that it's easy done. You can even learn it, like Keith Small and others. I'm sure they have learned. So, coming back to the debate again, Qur'an. Where is the different chapters and verses within the 31 Qur'an?
Show us.
Did you show one example? No. You kept on running to waving Ka'ab, running to before. The debate was not that. We can arrange another debate if necessary. The debate today is your claim. We have 26 Qur'an. Isn't that in the YouTube? Right, now it's 31. So this 26 Qur'an is what I want to debate you with. Where is the extra chapter or less? Where is the extra verse or less? I provided, while you were running away from providing even single example, lots of examples, and I am able to do all 71 if time permits, showing you how this is from the one same Qur'an and the meanings how they are complementary. You keep avoiding the subject matter of the debate. What are we debating? How good my Arabic is, or is there one Qur'an or many Qur'ans? You need to refocus in the debate title, Hatun. Right, so now let's go back again. There are so many verses that are removed. What did I tell you? We believe in the abrogation. That the Qur'an the Prophet left behind is the Qur'an is intended for us, for posterity. The Prophet left this Qur'an, and that is the Qur'an we must believe in. Earlier on, there may have been revelations that Allah sent and He abrogated. This is our belief, because Allah changes the people depending on their circumstances. He may leave certain verses, even they're abrogated, or take them away. If the ayat al-rajam, the stoning verse, was part of the Qur'an, this is one opinion, and there's another opinion, it was never a part of the verse, and we have examples to demonstrate that. It was abrogated. So what are you talking about? The Prophet left the Qur'an, and that is the Qur'an that we believe and we read.
Why are you so afraid of answering my questions? Failing to answer my questions. Do not talk over me while I am talking, because you are giving me right that I can talk over you while you are speaking. So here's the thing. When Muslim says they are just different readings, actually what they are saying is they are different versions of the Quran. It is the same. When British people say, oh, that's very interesting, they are actually saying that was rubbish. It is the same what Muslims are doing. When they say, oh, it's just a reading, they are failing to tell you, actually, they are different versions of the Quran, because Qurans have the different names. And when you compare the verses, you see verses are different. They are not only different from Hafs Quran, they are different 100%. 100% from Uthman's Quran. They are 100% different from Uthman's Quran. Why I say that? Because Uthman's Quran did not have the dots. Mansur, you already told us there were the issues. I practice that. I am afraid people will say Quran has been corrupted. So Umar confirms that should be the part of the Quran. Yet they are not part of the Quran today. Why not? If it is abrogated, why did you not take all other abrogated verses from the eternal word of Allah? And somehow they made into the eternal word of Allah. Why are you so afraid of talking about Ubay bin Ka'b? Why are you so afraid of talking about his extra chapters and his missing and Masud's missing chapters, which discredits the Uthman's Quran, which discredits and disagrees with the Hafs Quran you are reading today? Why are you so afraid of giving us the dates? Why are you so afraid of talking the different versions of the Quran which was exist in the 9th century to 14th century, 15th century? Hafs, very famous Hafs. What we know about him is very little actually, but the things for sure we know about him, his narrations couldn't make into the hadith. Reason for that is because he was not reliable. Yet, when it comes to the Quran, the eternal word of Allah, suddenly they picked his narrations. Famous Hafs, who borrowed the Quran, who borrowed the book from people and never returned those books. How can that make one person good and reliable? Does even it matches with the criteria of the reliability? Here is the full, I would love to give this to you, but sadly I recognize your Arabic is not good enough to read this. I'm gonna keep it to myself. I never made a claim or I never pretended that I know Arabic. Even though I don't know Arabic, I don't need to be Einstein. You look at and then you see there are the differences. People who claim to know Arabic stands next to me. This is the person who claims to know the Arabic and who was accusing me I shouldn't be doing this job because I don't know Arabic, yet he doesn't know Arabic. What people say about Hafs? Hafs lies and he is... Sorry, my time is up.
Did you hear her say 100% difference between the Uthmani Quran and our Quran? Yeah. Now, brother, you can reflect later. Did she provide any single example? This debate was supposed to be providing evidence, and we see zero, brother. We see zero evidence, just claims. In terms of why some of the verses are abrogated in the Quran or not, now I said there are two opinions. One of the opinion is this was not even a verse; it was a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, for your own reading, I give you my scholarly brothers who have written. You can read it and learn what scholars, Islamic traditions say. Myth of Quran verses eaten by a goat. There you go, that's for you.
Thank you.
Myth of Quran's lost verse about stoning. That's all there. All Islamic narration, all Islamic explanation on there. There's no point repeating from the beginning of the debate and from there. You can read it. If you don't agree with it, come back next time and we can discuss on camera if you so wish. Now, you say about dates. Of course we know the dates when they were. What does it prove? It proves that we know the dates that Hafs lived in a particular time. But where did he get it from? He got it from his teacher. Do we know the dates of his teacher? Yes. Do we know the dates of his teacher, the successor Tabi'un? Yes, we do. Do we know the dates of the companion? Yes, we do. So we have dates for all of them. So why are you even asking what date? The dates are there in my graphs, as you say. It's all there. What's the point of bringing this in one Quran debate? Yes, it's all there in our traditions. If you're not happy with me just saying it, I can give you those copies to you in a second. Hafs not reliable? Did I not read Dhahabi, Imam al-Dhahabi, saying about when it comes to the Quran, his thiqa, dhabit, he is so reliable and trustworthy and perfect? Why? Because this is how he read the Qur'an, not in one day, not in 1 year. He learned it from his teacher, and when his teacher asked him, was satisfied that every single letter and vowel he has memorized perfectly, he gave the permission, he gave the authority to transmit the Qur'an. This is all our transmission of the Qur'an, all of it. So you keep ignoring this. Now you're bringing up, why a person is not reliable in hadith. Now hadith is a different science. You have to relate the people, and you have to relate what the text is said. Brother, please. Excuse me, brother. Now, he was preoccupied, like many scholars, with the Qur'an. They were night and day learning, perfecting their recitation, their knowledge of the Qur'an. They didn't want to go and learn a hadith and transmit the hadith. If they wanted to transmit the hadith and learn the hadith, he would have done so. So when some of the hadith he narrated in a way that did not meet the standards of the hadith scholarship. That's all. It doesn't mean he had a weak memory. No. No one criticized about his weak memory. So he had good memory, and that is the memory that he demonstrated in memorizing the Qur'an and transmitting it. Do you know how many students he passed on? Many. But he has 2 famous students, and so on. Each teacher passes on to several students, and prominent students then takes over in transmitting the Qur'an. So we have called Qira'ah, Riwayah, Turuq, Wajh, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to now the Qur'an about Ubay and so on, I don't have to repeat anything. I've already explained and answered about what the extra writings meant in Ubay's Mus'haf. I even demonstrated from a 1st century Quranic manuscript, inferior text, undertext, wash away text, how people used to write in text. I asked you about Codex Sinaiticus, Shepherd of Hermas, Letter to Barnabas. Are they part of your biblical canon? Did you answer? No, you didn't. So that, am I to assume this is part of your canon and now you don't read it and recite it? Oh, your Bible is now what? Corrupted? But you will say, no, this is just an additional text written within this particular book. If you can give that explanation some validity, have the decency to also give the explanation to Islamic scholarship that there were companions who would write their Quranic Mus'haf and exegetical materials, explanatory materials within their Quranic text. So now, I think we have come to a point we need to summarize soon.
Okay. So, here's the thing. Throughout centuries, as Muslims claim, there is only one perfect Quran and not even a dot change.
Are you summarizing or?
No.
Because I need to pray, so how many more? Up to you.
How long is your prayer for? How long is your prayer for?
Closing statements.
Will you stop there? Stop.
Yeah, stop.
Let's stop.
How many more sessions?
Let's go half more over. What time is your prayer?
3 more?
No, I can pray. I need to pray.
Okay.
Tell us that.
3 more each?
3 more each? 3 more each.
Explain why Paul wrote the Bible. Explain why Paul wrote the Bible.
So, as Muslim claims there is only one perfect Quran, not even a dot changed, Islamic tradition already discredit that. Mansur already discredit that. As he said, there are multiple texts, multiple versions.
You don't seem to understand Islamic.
So, how can it be? Someone is not reliable as he transmits the sayings of Muhammad, yet he is reliable when he transmits the sayings of Allah. Again, which comes from the Muhammad. Halves. His hadiths are not taken into the Quran because he was not reliable. I would love to talk about the Bible, but here's the thing. You came to me and then you asked to talk about Quran. You are bringing the Bible about in it. But let me just give you one sentence summary for that. Yes, there are lots of writings regarding the Bible, for the Bible, biography of Jesus, customs of Jesus exist. We never burn them. We never throw them out. We never fit the ship
for?
I am asking the thing here. Where is Ubay bin Ka'b's Quran when people are fighting for each other? Where is that different versions of the Surah 25 while people are fighting for it? Where are they? Islamic tradition is screaming out. They are out there and they are exist. Yet they are not exist today. Where are they? But Islamic tradition is not surprised when they see there are different Arabic Qurans out there. Where does it say? Where does it say Muhammad says to Ubay bin Ka'b, or Ubay bin Ka'b says, these are my personal notes, those are my personal prayer for Surah 115, Surah 116. Nowhere it says that. They are not there. So, here's the thing. As you say, lovely Muslims, as you say, and other Muslims says there is only one perfect Quran, not even a dot changed. Let's look at them how that one and only perfect Quran has been corrupted and went through changings. Let's look at the examples.
Please. Finally.
He pressed pause.
Press pause. Pause time. Yes.
Guys, remember, I don't know Arabic and Mansur doesn't know Arabic. And Mansur doesn't know Arabic. Yeah. I showed Mansur to read 4 pieces of Arabic writing for me and translate it. He failed.
What do you mean?
As a non-Arabic speaker, let me remind you guys, you don't need to be Einstein. You don't need to be Einstein. Remember, Mansur already showed you Uthmanic text. Even the consonantal letters do not have any dots. Even the consonantal letters of Uthmanic text does not have any dots. Here is the Surah 2 verse 10. It has lots of dots. It's not only have lots of dots, when it comes to the certain word, it disagrees with the Hafs Quran. They lie versus they accused of lying. You don't need to be Einstein. You look at the writings and you can see writing form of the Arabic Quran is different. It is different. When Muslim says not even a dot change, they're misguiding you and they're being dishonest. And they will be accountable to God on the day of judgment for that.
You have to be Einstein to understand the Trinity. Einstein couldn't even explain it. I did a Ouija board and he said...
Okay, brothers, bismillah. As you can see, my papers have come out of sequence. I had all in sequence.
Sorry about that.
I am going to put this up on the video. It's all there, ready-made for you to watch and see. What I show is this. What I show for each one of your slides. That's from your slide, not mine.
Do you want us to hold them?
Each one of your
Do you want
slides.
us to hold them?
No, anyone. Each one of your slides, I've taken the Uthmanic text as it should be and demonstrated it is the same consonantal text.
Okay.
And I have given
Just Mansur,
who
just a moment. Do you want to go to
I can't find it.
just
Take out of order.
No. Do you want to go to the verses one to one? Like I give my
What I
reference
said-
and then you
what I
respond
said,
to that?
It's all out of order now.
No, I know. Like you just give me the verse and then I'll find that verse and then we do verse to verse.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So in that case, it will be like
Okay.
I'll have my screen and then you.
337.
Okay, guys, can we find 337? So
337.
okay, so you give me the reference and then I'll find it and then we look at together.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll respond.
337.
Okay, just give us 1 second, okay? 337. 337.
So yours are not in order as well.
Okay, 337.
Right. So you say in 337 that there's one reading where it says that, I'll read from here, that Hafs reading is kaffalaha, that, and he put the care, so the Lord accepted her with goodly acceptance. He made her grow in a good manner and put her under the care of Zakaria. This is one reading. The other reading, as you translated here, so the Lord accepted her with goodly acceptance. He made her grow in good manner, and he, Zakaria, took charge of her. So one is the one who took in charge, Zakaria, or God put Zakaria in charge. What is the difference?
True Qur'an.
The meanings are complementary.
True Qur'an.
In both of the texts, who was in charge of taking care of Mary? It is Zakaria. Because anything that God,
Can I have your 335?
it's the same text. Yeah? فتقبلها ربها بقبول حسن وأنبتها نباتا حسنا وكفلها زكريا كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا. Now I read a non-vowel text. Mansur doesn't know how to read, but he read a text without any vowels or diacritics.
Let me respond.
Anyway.
Let me respond. Let me respond.
Anyway, I don't know how to read.
Okay.
So I haven't finished. So what I'm saying is this. This is my time, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, no,
no,
in fact,
no, we are
we're not doing any more times anymore.
Yeah, no.
We can respond. What I said, when Allah says someone is entrusted and doing these kind of actions, ultimately it is Allah that is giving the actions to be done by certain individuals. So whether it is done in a passive voice, in an active voice, or it says Allah put her or Zakaria took entrusted, ultimately we know in this reading, in both the readings, it is Zakaria who was in charge of entrusting with Maryam's care.
Okay, here's the thing, guys. I told you none of you needs to be unsigned. This is Uthmanic text. Consonantal letters without dots. Okay? This is the current Quran. They are different. They are different. Mansur made a claim that he can read it. No, he cannot read it because he's got lots of other options. But because he memorized it, he told you what it is. He memorized it let me guess. He memorized it from this book. That's where he memorized it.
Who memorizes
So
the Quran?
they are not complementary. You can see even just looking at one verse, it contains 100% variation, and when you look at them, you see they are different, and meaning of this is different. It's going to get worse. Raining is going to get worse.
That's why we should end soon with someone.
Okay, let's do your conclusion.
After these closing statements,
Okay. I start first. I'll do my conclusion and then you do your conclusion, or do you want to
First,
respond?
mine,
You do your conclusion and then I'll do my
Okay.
conclusion.
Now why don't you start it first? You can do the conclusion.
Okay. Topic of the debate was one Quran versus many Quran. Guys, remember, Quran is the eternal word of Allah, and through centuries, Muslim claims one Quran, perfect, not even a dot changed. What we've done is, I looked at the Quran at the time of Muhammad, and then we saw there were different versions of the Quran exist at the time of Muhammad. We looked at the Qurans at the time of the Muhammad's companion, first 20 years of after death of Muhammad. There were different Arabic Qurans was exist. From 9th century to 1300s, they were different Arabic Qurans were exist, and people have seen that.
We haven't seen
Today,
it, didn't show us.
today, in 2017, I've got 31 different Arabic Qurans in my possession.
Show us!
You have seen them. You have tried to take them from me. You give me death threats because of those differently. They're all named differently. And when you look at those Quranic writings, you don't need to be Einstein, you don't need to be Arabic reader. Look at them, and then you see there are variations.
Who's doing the time?
And then,
Carry on.
that was
Carry on, can't finish until you make a point. Right?
okay.
Our timekeeper has disappeared, but carry on, carry on.
Do you want to keep the timing?
Finish your points in a way that you think you've made your summarized statement.
Okay. When we look at I can't remember what I was saying last. When we compare those different Arabic Qurans, today I hold in my possession. And those different Arabic Qurans, which were probably exist in the mid-age, they are all different from the Ottomanic text. They cannot be complementary. You don't need to be Einstein to know that. They cannot be complementary because as Mansur confirmed us, as he cannot read and understand Arabic, he confirmed us that Ottomanic text does not have any dots. Even the consonantal letters do not have any dots. Yet the current Quran, Hafs Quran, which was born in 9th century, actually has dots, and that's what people are reciting today. I've got 31 different Arabic Qurans. They're all different from Hafs Quran. A number of the variations are 59,664.
Say the number again.
So, as Muslims makes a claim that there is only one perfect Quran, not even a dot change, I think I make my case. Even Mansur, thanks for helping me to making my case, confirming that Quran contains 100% of the textual variations, yet you put them as they are the readings and they are the complementary to one another. Please stop saying there is only one perfect Quran and not even a dot change. There are minimum 31 different Arabic Qurans and they are all different from one another.
Random numbers. What was the number again?
Thank you.
What was the number again?
Okay. So this is going to be the final
Let me
summary.
hold it for you.
It's okay, no, okay, thank you. This is going to be the final summary, inshallah, of this long discussion. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. So I came to discuss the very claim that is being propagated in Speakers Corner and elsewhere with our cameraman's active pursuit all over the world, that there are more than one Qur'an. So what I said, okay, fine. You know, it's easy to establish. If there's more than one Qur'an, that Qur'an should reflect within itself the differences. The differences should be in the numbers of chapters, surahs, the numbers of ayahs. There should be more ayah or less ayahs between them. There should be more chapters or less chapters between them. Because that was the claim. 26 Qur'an now become 31. And in the course of this discussion, what we have seen, 0 examples of the differences between the Hafs Qur'an. Excuse me. That's not going to happen if I can't summarize like that. We have seen 0 examples of differences between the Hafs Qur'an, because that was what I was claiming. There is no changes between the transmission of Hafs. So Hafs transmission throughout the world has remained preserved to the dots and letters and sounds and vowels. We know even to this da'ufa and da'afa. Yeah? Da'fin. Excuse me. That's the meticulous preservation even to this word level in Hafs. You haven't provided 3 examples between the Hafs or the wash. You haven't provided an example of a different chapter, more or less, more surahs, more or less. So you're keeping again in the Islamic tradition that there is one Qur'an, all the 31 Qur'ans are the same one Qur'an. You have to submit, because failure of your demonstration of this is an admission that the Qur'an is one Qur'an out of all of these 31. What else you have established by failing to demonstrate the differences between them, we chose finally one example, kaffalaha and kaffalaha. And I did so many before. In my upload of the video, you will see all of these readings and translations of these particular words are provided. Who read them and what it means? Because we haven't covered them. I so wish that we covered them here. That was the debate, so that we can go through and debunk you in the process. But anyway, you're debunked anyway, because the examples that I did show, all of them demonstrated one Uthmanic consonantal text.
Which doesn't have the dots.
So I stated that Qur'an is a multiform text which you need to come to grasp with. That means there are reading variations that are sanctioned by Allah to facilitate the reading of the young and the old, the unlettered. So some people would find it difficult to read in a particular way, and that's why, like, لِلْعَالَمِينَ نَذِيرًا and لِلْعَالَمِينَ نَذِيرًا, idgham was in place differences. Or even some, remember what we said, we need to understand the ahruf. Ahruf is such that in Arabic of that time, there was no codified grammar books. There was no books on Arabic grammar. All Arab tribes were reciting fluently and eloquently. Some of them more eloquent than the others. It wasn't only 7 of them, there are more Arab tribes. The ahruf, we don't say there are dialectical difference between the tribes, because Umar and Hisham were from the same tribes. The difference
What is ahruf then? What
so
is
the
ahruf
differences
then?
arose because there were unlettered people. There are people of different tribes who are accustomed in the Arabic language of their learning.
You know that's not the truth.
You're interrupting my summary.
Okay, but you know that's not true.
You're interrupting my summary.
Okay, we need to keep time for you. You can't go 10 minutes. Okay, because right now you are making new points which are... So,
as I say, ahruf is such that different tribes have certain linguistic nuances. Some people will read certain things in plural forms and others in singular forms. So to facilitate easy readings, the Prophet allowed them to read in singular or in plural. This is how the ahruf came to us. So in a future discussion with you, Hatun and others, we can go through in details
let's do that.
and what the ahrufs are. But what we do establish then in this debate that we have, I started by claiming one Qur'an of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, read in multiple forms of qira'at recitation. 10 of them are mutawatir, authentic, mass transmitted. All of them are Qur'an. All of them are acceptable by Muslims. So all the differences that you have, every single one of them are divinely sanctioned, authentic.
Yes, they're all
Quranic
different.
readings.
Yes, they're all different.
Right.
They're all different.
So,
Yeah.
so our Qur'an is what we need to get grasped with. Our Qur'an is a multi-form text, but it is from Allah, taught by the Prophet in this way. So, in the end and in summary, I have to say that Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, in the course of discussion, we have established with evidence from manuscripts, with evidence from your examples, with evidence from reason, intellect, with evidence from resorting to authentic hadith, unlike you cherry-picking our hadiths, misunderstanding our hadiths, that there is one Qur'an of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mansur. It stands as the
Thank you very much.
So what we've done with Mansur, thanks that he took the time to discuss how the Quran has been changed and have been, what are they reading today. Claim was, that was very simple claim. Throughout centuries, Muslims are making the same claim. There is only one Quran and not even a dot changed, and that Quran goes back to Muhammad. But today, Mansur confirmed with us that he does not even know Arabic, which was sad actually, but anyway, he doesn't know Arabic. anyway, it doesn't matter that part. So, what we've done is we looked at the Qurans at the time of Muhammad. They were different. We talked about the Qurans at the time of the companions of Muhammad. They were different. We talked about modern Qurans, and they are all different. Thanks to Mansur, he produced a consonantal, not dot version of the Arabic verses, and we compared them and we saw they are very, very different than what we are reading today. It is sad, as Quran stands out as the eternal word of Allah, it has been changed and corrupted, and today there are multiple versions of the Arabic Quran Muslims are reading. That was the point we made. But here's the thing. Even Muslims are seeking for the eternal word of Allah. They need to come back to Lord Jesus Christ. Lord Jesus Christ, who is the eternal word of Allah, the word of God. He is, people are gonna stand and bow down to him one day, willingly and unwillingly. It is the eternal word of God. Never change, never change, and never corrupted. That is the eternal word of Allah. One, not many, one, not 31, one eternal word of God who came and died for mankind and died for Muslims. Today they deny that, but they have to acknowledge and they have to repent. There is one